time at the end. Maybe we'll let that play out as we leave out from this space today. But this morning, I really am feeling a sense of gratitude that each week I really get to share from my heart. The board doesn't put a lot of restrictions on me about what I can talk about or share with you. And I'm grateful for that freedom to share from my heart today. And this week, really, the past few weeks, what's been on my heart in a sense of deep gratitude is community. We've just experienced the American elections, and no matter where each of us may have stood politically, we can likely agree that our society has a deep need for unity, healing, and ultimately community. And what a better place to reflect on this than a Unitarian Universalist church, where faith traditions and people from diverse paths come and gather with an open mind and an open heart, or at least that's what we aim to do. And for us, we aim and remind ourselves of that aim regularly. This morning, I've come to talk to you in the past about many different things that I feel might be spiritually edifying. You know, that's one of those words I got from my Christian and maybe my Seventh-day Adventist upbringing. It's like something that spiritually feeds you. Oftentimes, I bring things to you that have spiritually edified me. Some life lesson that pricks my memory or my curiosity to dive in and find out whether there's some tidbit of spirituality woven into it. And oftentimes I find it. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the power of community and specifically this transformative role of healing circles. I talk a lot about the lessons that life teaches me, but often not so much about the specifics of what I'm involved in. Oftentimes, it feels a bit too self-serving and a bit PR-ish to do that in this forum. Places like social media, websites seem like a better place for self-serving posts that say, hey, go check out my website. I might have something to sell you. But church, in whatever form or expression, named or unnamed, the people that people connect with, that often feels like inappropriate for a place like that, a place like church. These aren't just gatherings, but places where deep connection, shared vulnerability, and authentic compassion can flourish if we allow it. But this week and the days that I've spent thinking about what I'd offer to you today, I believe that in times like these, healing circles and sacred community spaces offer a path forward. And those two things are part of my passion work. So today I decided it felt appropriate to share. Let me weave this story with some wisdom from the different traditions and voices that all speak to our shared human need for connection and healing and support. But let me first tell you briefly about healing circles. I use a format called healing circles as part of the community integration part of healing, as part of the healing tools that I teach. My life work has been about creating this thing called social tech, the social tools that we need to be socially sustainable and live in socially sustainable ways. And one of the ways, aside from our personal healing work that oftentimes is done in private and in solitude, is about bringing that back to the space of community, about having a format where we bring our healing work to that common space, where it allows others to be a part of our healing journey as well. And I thought about that. Why do you do healing circles? Why do you call it that? Why? Let me first just talk about why I see the need for them. Healing Circle, for me, is a place where we gather as equals. We set aside roles and labels, where each person is fully seen and heard, or at least to the best of our ability. Imagine what it would feel like if we could all gather with intention, without pretense, ready to be present and open. And then I thought, isn't that what we aim to do when we gather and call it church? When I began to look at this from the spiritual foundations that I pull from, one of the places that I found a reminder was in the Christian scriptures, Matthew 18:20. It says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them." In a healing circle, it's not just about individuals healing, although it is about that too. But it's about creating a space where the divine presence or that universal compassion and love can be felt. This collective energy is powerful. It teaches us that we are never alone, that our pain and resilience are part of a shared journey. The Circle of 8 is something we've been introduced to. Marla's brought that concept to us about us gathering with just those kind of intentions in mind. But what about the need for community? And is it really a sacred mandate? I went to the Bhagavad Gita, and it says, when meditation is mastered, the mind is unwavering like the flame of a lamp in a windless place. In healing circles, for me, it's about creating that windless place for each other. A sanctuary where the mind and heart can rest. In a world that's swirling with so much noise, having a space to experience peace and stillness and presence is sacred. Kind of feels like CMUU sometimes, I think. But as communities that gather with the intention of healing, it becomes kind of a sanctuary place. People who have committed to living lives where healing is a part of their lifestyle. And having places, kind of sanctuaries to gather for that purpose is part of why I do healing circles in the way that I do. Many of the religious texts and teachings highlight this. So I think I'm on the right path, spiritually aligned with my belief systems. The Quran speaks to the value of supporting one another in righteousness and piety, and it says, helping one another in acts of piety and righteousness. Do not assist each other in acts of sinfulness and transgression. It's a call to unity, to communal responsibility, where we come together in healing circles. We're acting in piety, in righteousness perhaps even, in support of each other's growth and wholeness. And that is important to me. But I thought, let me not stop there. Let me go a little bit further. We might also consider the Tao Te Ching that encourages gentleness and humility. It says, I have 3 treasures, guard and keep them. The first, deep love. The second, frugality. And the third is not to dare to be ahead of others. Thought about that. And I realized that my healing circles honor these treasures: love, simplicity, and humility. We don't try to fix one another, but rather offer deep listening and compassionate presence. Because I wholly believe that my healing is my responsibility and yours is yours. But that we can come together in deep listening and compassionate presence to support each other as we each have committed to lifestyles of healing. I often talk about healing first communities, and when I talk about healing first communities, what I'm really envisioning is a space where these principles come to life. A space where compassion and gentleness and unity can take root. And I believe faith communities, especially those as inclusive and as open as this one, are uniquely positioned to lead the way in this healing work. We've already wrestled with some of those challenges of diversity that many faith communities still have yet to wrestle with. The part of my work is about a vision. I call it convertible communities, but really as just a container for holding a vision that I have. And I felt like I wanted to share that with you this morning. What I call convertible communities, if you can imagine for a minute being able to look up a community, like checking reviews for a hostel on booking.com, except instead of just rating for amenities, you see how the community nurtures emotional safety. You see something about its sustainability practices and its commitment to healing first leadership and relationships. This isn't just a system of ratings, but really a vision for communities that will uplift each other. From the Talmud, we hear these words: whoever saves a single life is considered by Scripture to have saved the whole world. That struck me deeply this week as I read those words. One of the challenges that I've heard from a friend, especially when thinking about my quest in seminary, was, what are you being saved from? Who's being saved and who's doing the saving? It's a question I've thought about often over the years since that time back in 2003, where that challenge came to me to think a little more deeply about that vocabulary that we hear oftentimes in spiritual circles. But this quote from the Talmud reflects the ripple effect of healing. When one person heals, it touches everybody they come in contact with, like throwing a pebble in the pond. That's a principle that I live by. The one person in the whole wide world that I can absolutely control is me. And if I have chosen a life that's a healing first lifestyle, everyone that comes in contact with me, with my life, is better. Partly because I ain't the one throwing the damage out there as much as in the times of life where healing wasn't my lifestyle. So imagine the impact of a community filled with people who prioritize healing and compassion, which at its core really is love. A place where everyone has the space to grow and be seen. That's the power that I believe community has and can be. And that's why I believe in a healing first leadership. If you can't live it, you can't lead it. Next year, I've taken on some challenges, and I'll be working with 5 amazing women in a program that I've created called Gangsta Grannies Global. It's a work exchange program, and it might sound funny, but at the core, this group will be made up of wise, resilient women over 50. They'll be stepping forward to be the first cohort in a work exchange program that really blends healing and learning and community leadership together. I'll be taking them through a month-long intensive healing journey where they'll learn how to create healing spaces within their own life, and hopefully that will spill over into their communities. This cohort is the first step for me of building a network of healing first leaders who are willing to prioritize their own healing before leading others, because the fake it till you make it paradigm is one that I hope will die swiftly. These gangster grannies, as I call them, are pioneers. I'm hoping that the work that we do together will not only change their lives individually and mine, but will create a foundation for future communities dedicated to healing and resilience. And with another group of collaborators, I'm building some of those physical communities, one of them here in Ecuador, and one of them will be in Georgia, there in the States. And some of you know that music has always played a powerful role for me, and sometimes it overflows in these weekly get-togethers that we have called church. But as I was preparing this week and thinking about music, two songs came to mind that echoed from my own life experience about healing and community and the resilience that we have when community is working. One of them from the artist that I enjoy, Bill Withers, a song that many of you may be familiar with called Lean on Me. And another from my childhood, Sister Sledge and We Are Family. And if you were alive in the 70s and 80s, that may be a song or names that were familiar. But these songs kind of capture a universal longing and support for connection. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. This line specifically reminds us that we don't have to carry our burdens alone. Healing circles are spaces where we lean on each other, sharing both the weight of our struggles, but also the beauty of our triumphs. Does that sound familiar to you guys? We are family. I got all my sisters with me. Here, we're reminded that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about choosing. It's about the people who show up for us, the ones who stand by us, and the ones who walk the healing journey with us. These are the bonds that healing circles aim to create in the work that I do. And it's a call for healing first leaders in faith communities. What I'm working toward and what I hope to inspire others in a healing first movement is about that kind of change and leadership. And I'm here to say that communities like this one are perfectly poised to become healing first communities. You guys already create a space where differences are welcomed, where diversity is cherished, or at least we try to, and where compassion flows. Imagine if church groups like this one were known not only for their openness, but also as hubs of healing circles, spaces where people could come together, lay down their burdens from life, and feel the warmth of true community, because sometimes you feel it before you can explain it. What if when people throughout groups like this, what if they thought of healing centers, places that nourish and support healing first kind of leaders and people? But let's return to the Buddhist teachings for a final reflection. In one of the sacred writings, it says, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. For me, healing first communities are built on words and actions that bring peace, that let people experience love in a much more cleaned up way. In a world filled with hollow promises and often loud voices, my challenge to you is to strive to create places where peace is the priority. And I believe the way that we get there is when healing is the foundation. Today, in a real way, I invite each of you to think about how you might bring healing into your own life more and more. How you can be a healing presence in your community, whatever that looks like, because it's different for each one of us. And if you feel drawn to the vision I've shared, perhaps you're the kind of true social paradigm leader that can be a part of building that kind of network, of building that kind of resiliency and adding that to the world as part of our life comprehension. That's my real challenge to you today. If the world's going to be changed, how about if we start with the one person in the whole wide world that we can control change with, and that's us. We hear those quotes about be the change, but that's real and it's powerful. What if we were the change so that no matter where we were, life was better? One interaction at a time. One little smile, one little point of connection in life. What if we were what was better in humanity. And that's my real charge to you today. If that's part of your commitment, figure out how. But I challenge that figuring out the how, if it starts with a commitment, a deeper commitment for some, to a healing first lifestyle, that might be the best foundation we can build change on. And so I challenge you today in a real way to consider deepening your commitment to be part of the change.